Today, the UFC is back overseas, this time in Doha, Qatar, where in the main event, we will see Dan the Hangman Hooker stepping in the octagon with Arman Tsarukyan. And the real question here is, if Arman Tsarukyan wins, is he your next challenger for Ilia Topuria? And I don't really know what happens if Dan Hooker wins. I mean, I don't even know. I can't even begin to wrap my head around what they're going to do if Dan Hooker wins. How about in the co-main event, Belal Muhammad, remember the name, and you remember it good, steps in the octagon with Machado Garry in a fight in which, maybe the first time in a long time, everyone, except for Belal's family, wants Machado Garry to win. Please, Machado Garry, pull this one off. We need it for the division. Plus, Dana White gets hands laid upon him by Big Frank the Tank, Francis Ngannou. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt. We are here to go over the main and the co-main event on the next UFC card, which goes down in Doha, Qatar. And that is, in the main event, we will see Arman Tsarukyan stepping back in the octagon with Dan the Hangman Hooker. Let's kick it off with that. So, man, I'm not going to hold you. This is one of those fights where we know what's going to happen, right? This is a fight in which there's one outcome that we all see happening, right? Just one outcome. And that is Arman Tsarukyan by finish. That's the one outcome. This should not go to a 5-round decision. This shouldn't be anything but Arman Tsarukyan knocking out Dan the Hangman Hooker, which probably won't happen, but probably what will happen is he secures some sort of a choke and taps him, right? Or puts him down because Dan the Hangman doesn't seem like the type of guy who likes tapping. That's the only way we can really see this fight. Now, with that being said, this is mixed martial arts, right? And the outcome that we all never see at times, not every time, just sometimes, can be the outcome we would get, which would be Dan the Hangman Hooker somehow landing something that allows him to move in and finish Arman Tsarukyan. When I look at this fight, I don't see this as being a 5-round war in which Dan Hooker is able to emerge victorious by decision. It's just not something I see. I can't really see, given that recently most of all of Arman's competition has been in grappling events, in BJJ events, different things like that. I just don't see Dan Hooker being able to go out there and submit him. So if we're going to lean into the opposite, if we going to get a little crazy, you know what I'm saying? We get ready to get a little crazy on a Saturday. The only way I can see that happening is Dan Hooker by knockout. The only way I can see Dan Hooker winning is he catches Arman off guard, catches him off balance, catches him with a good solid shot, not even a kick, a good solid shot, right? Wobbles him, rocks him, you know what I'm saying? I don't see Arman being able to be flatlined instantly with just one shot KO, you know what I'm saying? But I can see him being wobbled, falling to the ground. Dan Hooker gets on top of him, delivers a few more punches, referee stops the fight, everybody goes home early. There's a world where I can see that happening, but honestly, this fight is Arman Tsarukyan's to lose. Because when you look at Dan Hooker's reemergence, right? Who did he really beat? Okay, so he's got a win over Machado Garry. It's a decision, split decision win. I'm going to be honest, looking back on that, I'm not really sure if Dan Hooker even should have skated with that one. But we'll let that slide, right? So he beats Machado Garry. Outstanding competitor. Just lost to Charles Oliveira. We're not taking anything away from him. Win is a little bit suspect, but I get it. How about the war he had with Jalen Turner? Now, this was a war. He had a broken arm during this fight. You know, not Jalen Turner, but Dan Hooker. This was a war, right? This was a battle back and forth. But let's be honest. Jalen Turner done retired from the sport. He keeps touting that he wants to come back, but if he's going to come back at 155, he'll be retiring right midway through the fight. He'll be like, you know what, ref, no, I ain't got it. I ain't got it in me, bro. I ain't got it. I'm retired again. But we're in the middle of a fight. I'm retired again. I ain't got it in me. You know what I'm saying? He needs to come back. If he comes back at welterweight. Please, Jalen Turner, come back at welterweight. Nevertheless, man, the deal is, bro, when you look at this, Dan Hooker's reemergence is fool's gold. Before that, he beat Puelles. Puelles, bro. I mean, who don't beat Puelles? You know what I'm saying? Who don't beat Puelles? You know what I'm talking about? So it's like, dude, a man that can't wait to get on the ground, roll for your leg, and try to send something up. Then when it doesn't happen, he gets terminated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are we doing here, bro? You know what I'm saying? I don't see anything here that shows me Dan Hooker is ready to go out there and beat a fighter the caliber of Arman Tsarukyan. Yeah, I know he had a back injury, missed weight. I don't know what happened between him and Islam Makhachev. And whatever happened there, Arman Tsarukyan, he deserved it. All right? When Big Money Dana White gives you your opportunity, you don't squander it and never even make the walk into the octagon, right? But regardless of that, bro, Arman Tsarukyan should go out there and win this one. Like I said, I don't even see, Arman should not take this to a 5-round decision. This should end by finish by Arman Tsarukyan. You know what I'm saying? More than likely via submission. And we move forward. You know what I'm talking about? We move forward. We will see if Arman is the next man up to step in the octagon with Ilia Topuria. Everyone predicting early next year. Although, I mean, if he has a war here, would he be ready to step in there by the end of January for the first card on Paramount? I'm not sure. To face Ilia Topuria, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know what they're doing with that card, because so far they still haven't announced who's even fighting on that card. UFC, get it together. You know what I'm saying? You damn near dropped the ball with UFC 300. You know what I'm saying? Get it together. Let's get out there. Let's announce these cards ahead of time so people is ready. You know what I'm talking about? What is y'all doing? Nevertheless, man, Arman Tsarukyan by finish. Let's move on. Co-main event. We see Ian Machado Garry stepping in the octagon with former welterweight champion Belal. Remember the name, although we wish we could forget, Muhammad. Man, this fight's a little bit more tricky. Here's what I'm going to say about Belal Muhammad. In this fight, I don't believe you're going to see the same Belal that fought Jack Della. I don't think you're going to see a fighter who's proficient in wrestling and grappling go out there and try to stand on the feet. I don't know what Belal Muhammad was trying to prove with that fight, but clearly it did not work. Clearly he was not built for that stand-up against Jack Della, and clearly he wishes, because you could tell halfway through the fight he realized he should have been wrestling, but it was too late. Jack Della was wise to it, and the wrestling was not going to work. This fight, I don't see Belal being willing or ready to stand at all. I think Belal's going to instantly try to get this one to the ground. He's going to try to keep this one to the ground. He's going to try to cruise to a boring 3-round decision. However, You can say a lot of mean, rude, nasty things about Ian Machado Garry, but at the end of the day, homie can fight. Homie can fight. And when he started out his career, we thought he was going to try to mimic Conor McGregor and be more of a stand-up fighter. But more and more, given, we all know his background, his ties to BJJ, to Brazil, all of this. I mean, he changed his last name to Machado Garry. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, bro, this homie can fight. And he's pretty well-rounded. When it comes to his stand-up, he's extremely good about luring fighters in and baiting fighters in a position where he can knock them out. That's what he does. His stand-up style is similar to a spider, and I'm not talking about Anderson Silva, but it's very similar. He lures his opponents in. He lures them in to the position that he wants them. He already has the knockout blow set in his head. It's already been trained. It's already ready to go. His job is to lure his opponent into that position. Then he sets him up and delivers that knockout blow. With that being said, this homie has also worked so hard, tirelessly over the last few years, and he's gotten really good at grappling. He's really good at grappling, bro. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear about it a lot. It's not talked about enough, and it doesn't resonate itself in finishes, but this homie is good in grappling. In my opinion, I believe that, of course, he's not as good as Belal Muhammad in wrestling or grappling, but I believe the stand-up portion of the fight is where Ian Machado Garry wins it. And here's what I'm saying. I believe Ian Machado Garry has enough skill on the ground, has enough grappling skill in which he will be able to handle what Belal Muhammad is dishing out, right? He'll be able to scramble out of those bad positions on the ground that Belal Muhammad's trying to twist him like a pretzel in. Pause. You know what I'm saying? He'll be able to move through those and at least not get finished and at least not take too much damage, because Belal Muhammad is not really a fighter that gets you on the ground and delivers a lot of devastating groundwork, a lot of damage. That's not really his style. It's more of holding you in position, and maybe possibly when you're broken he will go for a finish, but it's unlikely when you're dealing with Belal. You know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, as long as Ian Machado Garry can stay safe, he's also good about getting back up to his feet. He got back up to his feet dealing with Shavkat. You know what I'm saying? So, as long as he can stay safe on the ground, I believe he'll be able to make it back to his feet. I believe that happening over time. Belal Muhammad starts to get a little wary, starts to get a little depleted, in the gas tank area. You know what I'm saying? I think Ian Machado Garry can go out there, outlast him for 3 rounds, outpoint him on the feet, and win this fight. I got Ian Machado Garry by decision to go out there and get this win and really position himself in a really good spot to possibly step in the octagon with Islam Makhachev, possibly at UFC White House. It's the second coming of Khabib versus Conor McGregor. Second coming of Khabib versus Conor McGregor. I'm calling it now. I think Ian Machado Garry goes out there and wins this fight. Now, that's really about all I'm really checking for. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be some other good scraps on this Qatar card, but those are the 2 fights that I'm definitely checking for. Let's move on to a little bit of current news, a little bit of news coming out of the mixed martial arts world, where Dana White was on one of these podcasts that Dana White goes on. I believe this was Andrew Schultz's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. Nevertheless, Dana White goes on a podcast and talks about Francis Ngannou. Talks about how Dana White's been saying Francis Ngannou's a bad guy. He's been talking about that he's not a good dude, that he plays like this nice guy. But he goes on this podcast and tells a story about a time that Francis Ngannou, before the fight with Stipe, was demanding that Dana White, was demanding that once he beat Stipe, he wanted a private flight back to France And Dana White just kind of laughed that off and then went on to make fun of Francis for losing the fight to Stipe. Then we also have the side of Dana White was talking about that Francis came in his office one time demanding the $50K bonus and wanted to know why he didn't receive the $50K bonus for one of his fights. Dana said that he explained to him why he didn't get the bonus, and that Francis Ngannou, when they were trying to leave Dana White's office, put his hands on Dana White on his shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And wanted to kind of force him to stay in the office so they could finish talking. Dana White claims that he looked at Francis Ngannou, Big Frank the Tank, and told the man, a man who's got to cut weight to 265 pounds to fight, he looked him dead in the eye and told him, "You get your effing hands off of me." Come on, Dana. I mean, come on, Dana. Come on, Dana. Then he also said the same thing went down with Hunter Campbell on a different occasion, in which he grabbed, I believe it was Hunter Campbell. I hope it wasn't Mick Maynard, but I believe it was Hunter Campbell, grabbed him by the back of his collar. It could have been Mick Maynard, but I'm going to keep it all right real. When you see Mick Maynard, that dude look like he unalive a character. You know what I'm saying? He look like he unalive a cat. You know what I mean? Mick Maynard, he looked like he was a mercenary in a past life. But maybe it was Mick Maynard. I'm going to choose to believe it was Hunter Campbell. Maybe it was Mick Maynard. Look, man, I don't really have a whole lot on this topic because I'm just going to say I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't see why you'd wait this long to come out with this. Dana White's been at odds with Francis Ngannou for like the last 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Last 5 years, Dana White has been battling Francis Ngannou. So I don't believe the story. I mean, I didn't really have no hot take on it for y'all or nothing. I don't believe it. I don't believe Dana White's telling the truth. I don't believe none of the story. I don't believe Dana White's going to look at big Francis Ngannou, stare him in the face, and his first response to having his hands put on him is, "You get your effing hands off of me." Only he said the real word. Bro, I don't see all of that happening. When I heard that part of the story, I didn't need to hear nothing else. Y'all ain't going to hold y'all. I didn't need to hear nothing else. I knew it was fabricated. Ain't no way that's your first thing. You might be like, "Yo, well, okay, all right, Francis, let's talk this out. Let's figure it out. Don't do nothing crazy now. All right, like, come on now. I cut the checks. Don't do nothing crazy." But you're not getting ready to immediately erupt with aggression toward Francis Ngannou. Nah. So I ain't gonna hold y'all, man. That was all I had on that. I just thought that was funny. Dana White's out here telling these lies. You a lie. Anyway. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you got winning between Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker. Let me know why it's going to be Arman Tsarukyan. Let me know who you got winning between Ian Machado Garry and Belal Muhammad. And once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.